asking me, they say, Amy, is it an exciting time for women in Hollywood? And I'm like, no. This was the line of Amy Schumer's opening monologue for Saturday Night Live on October 10th, so a few weeks ago. And it's very ironic because it is sort of an exciting time for Amy in Hollywood right now. Hosting Saturday Night Live is a really big deal. It was her first time. And no one in comedy is a bigger deal right now than Amy Schumer. Through her show, Inside Amy Schumer, her critically acclaimed movie Trainwreck, and the way she's changing comedy, she's making a really big splash on the scene. Now, The New Yorker talks about, in an article in May, talks about how when Inside Amy Schumer, her show on Comedy Central, premiered in 2013, it was really under the radar, like a very quiet show. No one had really ever heard of Amy Schumer. But for a new comedy show, it had a big hit rate online, which meant that the videos of the sketches they were putting online were racking up a lot of views. And, but the show really didn't become big and hit its stride until just this past spring in 2015. And as the show became more popular, it definitely gained a bit of an edge. It became much more political in a sketch called Football Town Nights, which aired on April 21st, 2015. It's a parody of the show Friday Night Lights, in which a football coach comes to a high school replacing the old coach, and he outrages the town when he enforces a no raping rule for his football players, which, I mean, it sounds really bad, I'm sorry. But it's a satire of how recently a lot of football players have been charged with rape in the media. It's also a very largely feminist show. In a sketch on the same night of April 21st, entitled Last Affordable Day, Amy is in the forest and she finds a table of her favorite comedians having a picnic, Tina Fey and Julia Louis-Dreyfus, and they're celebrating Julia's last day that the media has deemed her attractive enough for an older man to have sex with. So she's definitely pushing a lot of boundaries. And a lot of celebrities have started to make cameos on the show now that it's gaining popularity. In a sketch called 12 Angry Men Inside Amy Schumer, guests such as Jeff Goldblum and Paul Giamatti debate, as a parody of 12 Angry Men, the play, whether or not Amy Schumer is attractive enough to be a television actress. Now, the show has gained a lot of local attention, and she has won a bunch of awards for it. She recently won a Peabody Award. She won an Emmy just this past September in a new category that Emmys actually just released this year called the Sketch Comedy category. And she also won a Creative Emmy for a specific sketch called Girl, You Don't Need Makeup, which she wrote a song for, and it's very fun. So the success of her show is really what led to her new movie Trainwreck and what allowed her to make this movie. It's a Judd Apatow film, and the plot of it is that Amy, as a young girl, her father always taught her that monogamy isn't realistic. And so as an adult, she's never had a serious relationship, just sort of flings and one-night stands, and this is all thrown for a loop for her when she meets a guy that she actually really likes, and she doesn't know how to deal with it. Now, Time magazine talked about the appeal of Amy's character in an article in July, and it discussed about how at times her character is highly unlikable. She's often rude to people, and she's not very nice to her dates all of the time, but at the same time she's very vulnerable and she has her weaknesses. And so the appeal of the movie is that she's very real and she's like a very relatable character. Now, critics and audiences loved it. Rotten Tomatoes, which compiles all of the top critics' reviews and puts it into a percentage, gave the movie an 85% rating, which is very good. It made $30.2 million on its opening weekend, according to Forbes, and it made $110 overall in theaters, which is really, really good for a Judd Apatow film. And Roger Ebert reviewed the movie and said, "The reversal of traditional on-screen gender roles combined with Schumer and Hader's easy chemistry makes Trainwreck feel new and fresh." And the New York Times review said, "Miss Schumer is at her strongest when she is not a distressed damsel, but when she is the absolute agent of her own life and desires." And so the success of Trainwreck is leading to a new movie that Amy is writing with Jennifer Lawrence, which is very exciting. They're going to play sisters. And so Amy has really become a household name because of Trainwreck. Now, due to this success and her very specific style of comedy, she is really changing the game for women everywhere. She's very overtly sexual. Like most of her stand-up routines are to deal with sex. She's not afraid of these like taboo topics or pushing boundaries. In an essay entitled "Fooling Around" by Jennifer Fu, she talks about how her work is very explicit and self-depreciating, but she's also not afraid to ask for what she wants, which I think a lot of women can really relate to. And the essay also talks about when at a stand-up show, Amy is faced with a male heckler who basically yells at her that he ate a part of her female anatomy, and instead of, kind of shutting down like I think a lot of women would, she sort of stands her ground and banters with him a little bit and sort of like turns everything around on him. So she's trying to really break the male gaze of comedy. And as the New Yorker article also pointed out, female comedians are often supposed to, or also are sort of seen as put on this pedestal as sort of like role models, while male comedians are really just expected to be funny. So she's also trying to break that rule of like women have to be perfect. So with the success of Inside Amy Schumer and Trainwreck and her new style of comedy, whether you like her or you hate her, Amy is here to stay. And a quote she recently said was, "I say if I'm beautiful, I say if I'm strong." So whether you like it or not, Amy is here to stay.